So today I'm bringing you a different kind of video. Today I was really interested in talking about the whole Fluent design, the whole UI design stuff. It's kind of what I wanted to do when I was going to school, and so yeah, I'm gonna bring you that. And this comes from a person on Twitter called ZiLead, I believe. ZiLead Ahmad. I found his stuff suddenly. I think Twitter just recommended it, and I saw his stuff really fascinating and inspiring. So I wanted to take a look at some of his work. This specific video is going to be related towards his inspiration or his rendition of a modern file explorer. As you can tell, if you have been on this channel before, you know that I've taken a look at Files UWP, and I believe I took a look at another video, another Files application as well, all kind of following the Microsoft Fluent design scheme, and which is their current design scheme. And he took that to his own point of view and created something that I think is super fascinating, that everyone's like, dude, you should be hired already. And so what I'm gonna do in this video is I'm gonna kind of critique. I'm gonna bring the art side of myself out, as well as the critic side of myself, and just kind of go through his stuff and see what he has to offer for his rendition of the Windows File Explorer. All right, so here we are looking at ZiLead. If I said that right, please let me know. If I said that wrong, please correct me. ZiLead Ahmad Rana. He goes on Twitter, ZiLead, so you can follow him or just go to his website on Medium. I'll put all that stuff in the description box. And basically, he went through and he brought his own rendition of a fan's take on the Windows 10 File Explorer. And yeah, so let's take a look. So first things first, we see it right here in full screen. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. Will it let me zoom in? No, it won't. Just kidding. So his take on the Windows 10 File Explorer is right here. And basically, I'm going to put in the similar view what my File Explorer currently looks like on the normal File Explorer that everyone has. I'm just going to put, so you're not going to see the exact same files that he has, obviously, because we don't have the same computer. But I'm going to put it side by side, showing you how, maybe like in a little corner here, showing you how it looks like on my side versus how he envisions it to be. So you can see here, he wants the documents and the basically the navigation bar to be up here, just kind of centered in the middle. It's kind of squished in. To me, that kind of feels, I don't know, it feels like a poor use of space. I understand that he wants it to be centered, and it's very like symmetrical to the eye. A lot of the elements you'll see are very symmetrical, they're very balanced. But I feel like he could have stretched this out a little bit, because even web browsers are starting to implement stretched out elements, stretching out the bar to take up as much space as possible, since that is one of the things that you use the most. And then here he's got the general like ribbon icons like grid, list, tiles, more, share, tag, select all, sort by, group by, and the details pane. And then he says later on in the post that the thing that a lot of people have been wanting is not documents, has been tabs. And Microsoft did throw in a rendition of having tabs in Windows for a while. Like they had it in beta, or I believe they had it in beta and they took it out. And it could have been a third party if I can remember correctly, but his rendition is tabs that look like this. To me, in fact, you know what? I'll reserve my judgment right now till we get closer to that part. But just an overview, you can see he has the quick access here, and then he's got this is the documents folder. So you can see here that that's what he shows for how it looks like for that. And then whatever these are, I don't know what these icons are. Maybe they're important for business. Maybe they're locked. Maybe they're locked. No, this is locked. So I don't know what these icons actually are. One thing I'll say right off the bat is that the documents folder, I understand the paper because it's documents, so it's paper. But I was thinking folder as in an actual folder. So I'm not sure. Maybe he can change the icon to make it look like a folder of documents rather than just a piece of paper, because it makes me think he's opening up just one file versus an entire folder. So let's get out of that. So you see here, refresh design. He says the current File Explorer looks quite dated or quite outdated. So I wanted to see how it would look like if it's Fluent, if it gets a Fluent design makeover. So you can see here, this time he's looking at the Photos folder, and right here I like this design right off the bat. I already like it. He's got 7 files, which doesn't make any sense because he's got way more than 7 files, but I'm sure, but because this is a mock-up, it's not that detailed. But he says he's got 7 files, unless there's more scrolling down and there are 7 below that. But there's clearly a lot more than 7 files here. But going deeper, we can see here that he's got just his general pictures, his general photos, and then he's got the file size of each photo. It's kind of hard to read even for me, but he's got the file size for each photo right there, so you don't have to actually click on anything. That means probably that it's kind of already indexed. That just makes it easier to view all the file sizes, because part of the problem with Windows compared to Mac OS is that when you search for things, Windows, I'm not sure, but like it's hard, it takes forever for Windows. And yeah, so you see here these pictures, how they look like there. And let's keep going. He says here, the current title bar and ribbon UI is based off of Office 2010's ribbon, which looked good at the time, but now it looks dated. So I used the title bar of Office 365 and introduced a new ribbon called Dynamic Ribbon. So then he's going to give us an example of Dynamic Ribbon. He says here, the ribbon changes according to the state of the file explorer. When nothing is selected, a toolbar with just options for managing the files appears. So basically it's a dynamic ribbon, essentially, that whatever you're clicking on, or if you're not clicking on anything, these icons up here are going to change. These icons, this area here where the icons are, this is called the ribbon, if you didn't know that. And so these icons in his vision would change depending on what kind of file you're clicking on. So if you're clicking on an Excel file, it'll change to things related to that file's type. If you're clicking on a picture, I'm sure it will let you rotate and do other things without having to click into it. So it's really nice. It's kind of like when you're using Power Apps, the Windows 10 Power Apps that you can get on GitHub, and I'll put that also below. It gives you options to like auto rotate things and things like that without having to go into heavy applications to do those simple tasks. So that's really nice. I like that vision. Again, I have judgments about the whole thing as a whole, but so far it looks good. You got shadows around the search bar. Looks like you got voice search. I hope it's not Cortana, because Microsoft is not putting for Cortana like embedded into Windows. It's its own separate entity now. So let's take a look. So then he says, when a file is selected, a toolbar with options related to the file appears. So he has here, he's got pictures. So he's got grid list icons. Is this not the same thing as up here? Grid list icons. So no, that's the same thing. So I'm not sure what he's talking about. He didn't show that as an example on this at all. He didn't show like related things exist, because these are exactly the same. These are files. These aren't pictures, and that's there. And then this is that. I understand it's grid because you want to see pictures. You probably don't want to see pictures in a list unless you're searching through thousands of pictures like I do. But he should have actually probably made this thing a little bit more clear so you can see what he's talking about. So it says dynamic ribbon file selected, dynamic ribbon no file selected. So what he says here is dynamic ribbon file select. This is no file selected. I don't see any difference other than how they're laid out versus file selected, where it's got cut and paste. I guess I see right here he's got cut and paste and things like that, and then down here he's got share, copy, cut, paste, so on and so forth. I think he could have thought a little deeper in that, maybe let you rotate, figure stuff out. Obviously that's OS level, but it would have been an interesting thing if he could put in like let you be able to rotate, because that's one of the big things that I always want to have done is when I'm working with pictures, because I do a lot of photography. When I'm doing pictures, sometimes the pictures I accidentally make them like the wrong side. Like the camera didn't realize that I wanted to rotate it, so then I have to go into Photoshop or Affinity Photo or Designer and rotate it. It's kind of annoying. So I hope he has an updated design of what he thinks it should be for selecting, like, say, pictures. And then also this one is the one that when a file is selected, I kind of feel like he should. Oh, this is where it is. So you can barely tell, it's too bright. So minimalism is this file here he selected, and this is what will show up after this line break right here. You'll see that these change. And so if I go back here after the line break, it's about right here, things change. Things are moving around too much. I can already tell things aren't very consistent. he's got little things that, you know, it's a concept, so I guess I can't bash him too much. He says redesign address bar. As I mentioned before, the new title bar has the same layout as Office 365's title bar. This means that there's just one search bar, which looks pretty at first glance, but you might think, where is the address bar? The new search bar doubles as an address bar. That, yes, thank you so much, ZiLead. Thank you, because that right there, it's similar to a web browser. You know, Microsoft Edge, Google Chrome, Brave browser, Firefox, Safari. It doesn't have a separate. We used to have separate search and separate address bars on web browsers. Now they've become fused into one. So what he has here is a combined address bar and search bar, just like how it is on web browsers. It's familiar to everybody. Yes, separate search also works, but it just takes up more space and makes things look more cluttered. Microsoft already has put the address bar and the search bar together in their Edge browser, even the beta one too. So why not them do it for Windows as well? So here it says here, the new search bar doubles as an address bar. So it says here, you see here, before you click on it, it's got, you know, it tells you all, when you click on it or hover over, I'm not sure what it is, you see where you are, your path, your directory, where you're at. So it's in this PC/documents. So then you can see that that's the folder you're in, and that's the folder in fact you're in. And then you go out. He says here, when it is clicked, the address of the folder that you are in shows up. If you want to search, just type what you want to search. If you want to type an address, the bar will act like a typical address bar, kind of like modern web browsers. And that's exactly what I was saying. Just like modern web browsers, you just click in, just like modern web browsers, and it changes. I know this might annoy some people though, because some people like to type in the full file path and then put slash, I don't know, Johnson. Maybe they have this PC/documents/Johnson, which takes you directly to that folder, Johnson. But I'm sure this one you have to type all of it in every single time. So that could be something that, if it was truly implemented, I'm sure they could figure something out with that. Since if you want to type an address, the bar will act just like a typical address bar, kind of like modern web browsers. So here it is. This is the tabs. This is what I was going to talk about in the beginning. It says tabs. We all want tabs. Subjective, yes. We all want tabs in File Explorer. They are very useful. So if you want to use tabs, click the plus icon placed at the top right corner. So if we click into that, you can see the plus icon right there. And in fact, if you scroll up right here, you see right here, there's no tabs, and then the plus icon is right there for that. So let's go down the tabs. It says click the plus icon in the top right corner. So let's see, you have it right there because he's got two tabs. This is kind of grayed out, which means that's not the file you're in, or that's not the folder you're in. But you can hit next tab or a new tab by hitting this plus button. Does he have anything else to say about it? No. So what I wanted to say about this one here is, to me, I understand where he's coming from with this whole thing, with the whole Fluent design with the tabs. But to me, when you have, like right here from far away, me standing, I'm not sitting that far from the screen. I'm sitting about maybe 2.5 feet from the computer screen. And from far away like this, even this distance on a 1080p monitor, I'm not sure if I can even see a division line right here where my cursor is. I don't see a division line telling me that these are separate tabs. They kind of look blended together. I don't know whether it was probably a mistake. He didn't catch that little thing. And then two, when a tab is not selected, yes, it's grayed out, but at first glance, because there's no division line here, it kind of makes me be like, have I selected it? Have I not selected it? There's a game that I've been looking at videos on. It's called on the channel Super Beer Bros, and they've been playing not Untitled Goose Game. What is it called? Super Animal Fight or something like that. Animal Fight, whatever. It's Animal Fight Club. And like when I notice when Gerard is selecting between the two like different icons and things like that, things to click on, he says it's kind of hard to control, that he can't tell what he's about to click on, whether he's clicking no or yes. I feel like it'd be the same thing here. Yes, the grayed out thing makes sense that it's not selected, so it's grayed out. But I feel like maybe you should do some kind of shade like around the whole tab. Maybe you see how this shadow here is on the outside for that. Maybe create some kind of shadow effect somewhere, make this tab kind of float, kind of like how the document search, address bar is. Make it float so each tab kind of floats. And then that way, if a tab is not floating, you know that you haven't selected it, instead of it just being kind of flat in there. Because too flat is a new design scheme that a lot of people were doing, especially Apple and things when iOS was redesigned. But when you make something too flat, to me, it makes it seem kind of confusing. It's just not confusing, but just it doesn't look right to me. I kind of feel like you still need some kind of depth, some kind of extra something to it. And so, like, similar to how this is shaded in, you don't need to make this shaded because this is behind everything that you're working on. Over here, the tabs, make it kind of like floating like this with barely a border around it. That way you know that whatever you selected currently, it's not exactly like this, but it can have some kind of like shade or color or just shadow behind it or even in front of it, whatever you want to do, just to make it easier to tell that that's what I've clicked on, that's what folder I'm in, or that's the file I've clicked on, just to make it easier to visualize that. So that was my main gripe with that whole thing. The rest of it, I mean, it makes sense. The concept, tabs is not a hard concept to grasp. Rather than having to open up multiple file explorers to open up different folders, you just have tabs. It always allows you to see two folders at once. To access it, right click on the folder and click on one of the two options for snapping the folder. So it says snap left and snap right. So let's click on this and see what he has to do with this one. So these are two folders. This looks very reminiscent of macOS, kind of how things are laid out. Do I see a line in the middle? I think I see a subtle line. It could just be me. I see a line like right there that kind of divides it. It's very subtle, very faint. It's a nice thing, I gotta say. It is really nice. I don't know. There's just something. There's something here that it throws me off a little bit because it makes it look like there are two folders, like two. It makes it feel like even though there are two separate folders, it's one entity. I feel like there needs to be more of a division. That's really all I probably have to say. I feel like there needs to be more of a division. It's too plain. It's definitely nice. A lot of things are much nicer than the current file explorer. But this, and these three dots I think are to drag and adjust like what you want to do with it. But I feel like there needs to be more of a division line between it so you can tell that these are two different folders. And then on top of that, if you wanted to look for or drag a new folder in, how would you do that? That would be another thing to think about. So let's see. Says right click the folder. So you right click on the folder and click on one of the two options for snapping the folder. So you can snap left or snap right or open a new window. Okay. So you can see here, you right click any folder, say work, and you can choose to snap it left, snap it right. I guess, does this only apply, is he applying this to just under the quick access stuff, or is it to everything? Because I understand you're trying to show emphasis on split view, but what happens if the person wanted to copy the folder, cut it, paste it, whatever it is? Would that show up still? And depending on what is the context that you have to do in order to get, say, the work folder to show this and your copy paste, rename, and whatever else is on there, open with, or whatever you want to do. What is the context for that? Because right now I can't tell whether it's the documents folder here that he right clicked on or whether it's the work folder here that he right clicked on. I feel like what you should probably do is have, maybe I'm just speaking as I'm looking at this, I feel like what you should probably do is hover over, have like a little title bar here. It could be redundant. Let me know if it sounds terrible. Have a little title bar above here, and then tell them what folder you're working with, that you're trying to right click on. Maybe that will help for discoverability. Who knows? Because right now I can't tell whether he right clicked here or here, and if it's only showing these icons, these things, how does it show? At what point does it show copy paste and create shortcut and all the other stuff? So that's another interesting thing, but it's a good idea. Context menu does not show all the available options in this mockup. Okay, so yeah, he said it right there. Context menu does not show all the available options, so that's good. He's just showing emphasis on split view. And then he says here, we're almost done. He says dark mode. I just wanted to see if a dark version of this concept, though I'm not a huge fan of dark modes, I hope many of you will appreciate it. Let's see how this looks. So analyzing this whole thing, doesn't look bad. It's kind of, I feel like it's kind of too dark down here. I feel like the gradient's too stiff. I feel like maybe it's the background, because it is, Fluent Design allows the background. It's kind of like Windows Aero 2.0 from Windows 7 and Windows Vista days. I don't know whether, let me see. I don't know whether this is just a gradient, you know, where it just changes color gradually, or whether this actually is just see-through, and because the background is kind of gradient-esque, it's naturally getting really, really dark because the bottom of this is really dark. Not sure, but it just feels like this is too dark. Like down here, it's too dark. It needs to be a little brighter. The gradient, if it's a gradient, it needs to just be a little brighter. Microsoft and some other developers have done something similar that makes it still feel good. And then, yeah, I think it's just too dark down there. But I mean, he's not a fan of him, so it's not a big deal. Then he says here, conclusion. That was my take on Windows 10's File Explorer. I wanted to give it a Fluent Design makeover, add some new features, some things might seem out of place, maybe because they are, but you get the idea. Really appreciate your feedback. You can leave it here on Medium or on my Twitter post. Speaking of Twitter, you can follow it. There it is, ZiLead. If I said it right, I've probably been saying it wrong the entire time. So sorry. He says here, that would mean a lot to me. I post Windows-related design stuff there. Thanks for reading. So yeah, this is a well executed, well thought out. You can tell he's truly a fan of Fluent Design, Fluent UI, File Explorer. So one thing, closing thoughts for me. I'm not sure. So here it is actually. So this is actually see-through. I think it's just too see-through. Yeah, I think it's too see, because I kind of see how the design kind of flows in the background. I think it's the transparent opaqueness is a little too much right there. So maybe make the background bleed through a little bit more, so you can see a little bit more shape of the background. I think it's too blurred. So maybe do that. But overall, this is a good concept. It's a really good concept. I'd love to see like his transformations for all that stuff. I know this is a long video. Who knows if I'll make this 2 parts or just 1 part, but yeah. Hope you guys like this video. My name is Kwaku. If you wanted to reach me out, or reach out to me, I am on Twitter, Next Windows, NXT Windows, WINDOWS, or you can email me, nextgenwindows@gmail.com. All of that stuff will be in the description below, as well as what I looked at today, his Medium website blog post, as well as his Twitter information as well. So go give him some love. Go ask him some questions and engage. Like he said, he wants to see some feedback on what people think. Maybe him and I will work together to try to create a fan vision of Windows as a whole. There'll be more videos like this. Yeah, because the last video I tried to do kind of failed. The audio completely died. It never appeared. So this is what I got for you today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Take care, everybody.